Okay, in a previous video I showed you how to check addition by casting nines, and in this video I'm going to show you how to check subtraction. They're pretty closely related to each other, so this video's got a lot of reviewing in it. That process, casting nines, is an old process that really since the advent of calculators hasn't been taught anymore, but it's a very effective way to check your work by hand. And I'll show you first of all the skill, how to cast nines, and then I'll show you how it applies to checking subtraction. Okay, we're going to start out with casting nines from this value, 38. And when I say casting, I mean throwing away. So let's subtract 9 here. And 38 minus 9 is 29. And then when you subtract 9 from that, you get 20. And when you subtract 9 from that, you get 11. And finally, one last time, subtract 9 and you get 2. So the residual value when you cast nines from 38 is 2. And we just boil 38 down to its residual value of 2. Now there's a much faster way to do it, and then an even better way to do it that I'll show you after this. First of all, the 38 over here, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to get this answer 2, but we're going to get it much more quickly. If you add the digits in the original number, 3 and 8 add up to 11. And then, by the way, you're already down here when you do that. When you add the digits in that result, you end up with 1 plus 1. You get 2. So you just keep adding the digits in the numbers, and if there's a value that's higher than that's 9 or higher, you do it again. Just take away 9 from it. By the way, if you got a 9, you would consider that to be a 0 because 9 take away 9 does give 0. Okay, now we're going to apply this quicker approach to this next problem, and then I'm even going to improve on that. Okay, we're going to add these digits. 6 plus 2 is 8. 8 plus 4 is 12. 12 plus 7 is 19. 19 plus 3 is 22. And if you add those digits, you get 4. So if you kept subtracting nines from that 62,473 that we started with, eventually, if you didn't make a mistake in that horrible task, then you'd end up with a 4. Now let me show you another way to get this done. And this way is the most efficient way, and it's the way you should master. Any combination of digits in the numbers that add up to 9, you can just toss or throw away or cast. So for instance, 3 and 6 add up to 9, so I cast them. 7 and 2 add up to 9, and I cast them. And the only number left is the 4. So the residual value is 4, and that's a lot easier to do than even the more efficient way that we did up above. Okay, so let me give you, before we dive into this, some combinations that cast. If you've got a 9, it just casts. Now, if it's all there is, you'll put a 0 there in its place. But normally we just cross them off. 1 and 8 add up to 9, so they cross off. 2 and 7 add up to 9. 3 and 6 add up to 9. And 5 and 4 add up to 9. So those combinations all cast. You can have triplets. If you add 1, 4, and 4, you get 9, so throw it away. 1, 1, and 7 adds up to 9, so it can be thrown away. 3, 3, and 3 all add up to 9. And another example is 2 and 2 and 5 all add up to 9. So those are just some examples of the ways you can cross things off or cast them when they equal 9. Now, one of the things I want to point out here is that you have to persist until you get an answer that's between 0 and 8. And let me just show you the answers we've had so far. To illustrate this, we didn't stop when we got that 11. We kept going until we got something between 0 and 8. And this number is between 0 and 8. And you should always end up, when you cast nines, with a number that's between 0 and 8. Okay, now let's apply this to subtraction. I'm going to review how to check subtraction. Okay, you do the subtraction vertically. 18 minus 12 is 6. But you check subtraction by adding in the opposite direction. 6 plus 12 does equal 18. So the way we're going to check this is the same way I showed in the other video. how to check addition, essentially. All right, so here's a quick review of what that video taught you. You're adding here. This is an example of how to check adding. And you can have complete liberty of casting out things that add up to 9 in the original problem. So 4 and 5 cast, 6 and 3 cast. So what we have here is it boils down to just 3 plus 2 would be 5. So that whole top there, if you add it, gives 5. Now we hopefully get 5 down below here. And if you take the 1 and add it to the 0 and add it to the 6, that'd be 7. 7 and 7 more is 14. And then keep going. 1 plus 4, we get 5. Since those are in agreement, we know that problem was done correctly. Okay, so another way to do it that's not quite as efficient is to add the digits and keep going. So 4 plus 3 plus 5 is 12, but you keep adding, so that gives 3. And down at the bottom line here, or the middle line, you get 6 plus 3 plus 2 is 11. Add those and you get 2. So when you add these, you get 5. And if you got something that was higher than 9, you'd cast 9 or higher, you'd cast that also. But you get a 5 here. Let's see if we get 5 down here. 1 plus 6 plus 7 here is 14. Add those, you get 5. And since those are in agreement, this problem was done correctly. Okay, so now we're going to check subtraction. This is what we were headed for. So we've got these subtraction problems here. And we're going to check them by adding in this direction. Okay, so let's see what casts in that bottom section. I see a 2 and a 7 that cast, and let's see, what can I cast down here? A 6, a 1, and a 2. That would be 9, so you can throw that away. So you can see we end up with just 4 plus 3 would be 7. So I should get 7 up top. Okay, let's see here. 6, what can cast here? 5 and 4. And what am I left with? 1 and 6. Yeah, that gives 7. So the problem was done correctly. Okay, we're going to cast this next one here and see if this one's done correctly. Across the bottom, the 9 crosses off. 6 and 3 cross off. And then let's see what else I can cross off. 1 and 8 cross off. I don't think I can cross off anything else here. Let's see what we have here. Add up the remaining numbers here. 4 and 8. Add up to 12. But that just gives 3. And up here, 4 and 3 and 4 adds up to 11. But that just gives 2. And when you add these, you get 5. So I should get 5 up top. Let's see, 2, 1, and 6 all cast. And these two give 13. Adding those gives 4, which you can see doesn't match with what we had earlier. So there's a mistake in this problem. And what I've done here is rework the problem down below. And if you look carefully, the mistake is right here. That 9 in the original mistake should have been an 8, and it's now fixed down there. So this one should actually work. Let's see if it does. Okay, so we're going to cast 9s down here, and I'm going to cast 9s in this whole lower section here. Let's see, 1 and 8, 6 and 3. That's as far as I can go there. So across the top, 4, 4, and 8 is 16, which gives 7. And across the bottom, 4, 3, and 8 is 15, which then gives 6. And these give 13, which boils down to 4. And let's see what happens right here when I start casting stuff, if I get a 4 this time. Okay, 2, 1, and 6 are gone. 5 and 8 is 13. Adds up to 4. Yay, that problem's correct. Okay, I'll do several more here and just see if they're correct or not. Now, what I've done here is I'm showing you a problem that is done correctly here, and I've written the original problem next to it so you can ignore all those carry marks that were needed in the original. Okay, let's see what casts. 1 and 8 casts. Let's see, I see a 9 that casts. And I can get a 4 and a 5 out of this. You see the 2, and the 5, that adds up to 9. So all I have is 1 plus 3 would be 4 across the bottom. I'll highlight what I'm looking at there. 3 there, 1 there. Okay, the top should give the same answer. All right, what can I cancel here? Okay, 3 and 4 is 7, 2 more is 9. And you can see that the 1 and 3 also gives 4. So that one checks. Okay, let's see if it picks up on the mistake I've made. I've actually highlighted the mistake here. If you look up there at the very top, it says 10 minus 3, and I wrote 6. So there is a definite mistake in here. Let's see what happens when I try and check this one, okay? And it should catch that there's a mistake. All right, I see a 6 and a 3 that cast. 1, 1, and 7 that cast, so that bottom just becomes 5. Okay, now 9 disappears. 5 and 4 add up to 9, and I end up with a 5 there. So I've got 5 plus another 5 gives 10, but you have to throw 9 out of that, so it ends up giving 1. So this top should give 1 if everything's hunky-dory. And I get a 7, 1, and 1 that disappears, a 6 and 3 that disappears, and there's a 2. Uh-oh, there's a mistake in this problem, and I've already pointed it out to you. So that's how you check subtraction by casting 9s. It's a very obscure skill, but it's the most effective way to check these hand-done problems, since you don't end up having to do the whole problem again. And even if you did it twice, you'd end up with a really difficult situation where you write the first time or you write the second time, which then causes you to do the problem a third time. And then the best you got is a vote. The time that the answer you got 2 out of 3 times is usually what people go with, but even that's not sure. So this is really the most effective way to check your work, and it does take some practice, and give it a chance. Once you catch on to it, you can do this very quickly. All right, thank you.